My name is Elise Charney. I'm Artistic and Education Director here at BG On Stage. I've been involved in theater since I was in about the 4th grade. I was in my first production, I got cast in my first production then. I was in Annie here in Bowling Green, and I was one of the orphans. So that was my first real on-stage exposure to it. I had seen Broadway performances and regional stuff when I was really young. Obsessed with it, would sing to the cassette Broadway cast recordings back then. They were still on cassettes. And just kind of got hooked into it. And once I got a taste of actually being on stage, I knew that I wanted to perform and I wanted to be involved in the theater somehow. So I continued to be involved in community theater, and then when I got older, I was in my high school musicals, and then I went on to go to college. I went to Western for 2 years for acting, and then I transferred to Marymount Manhattan College in New York City to get my BA in acting. Actually finished up there. Came home for a little bit, then applied to grad schools, and I got accepted to Emerson College to get my master's in theater education. And I moved back down to Bowling Green about 2 years ago now. 2 years ago, and been working on BG On Stage ever since, back and forth in between living in New York and Boston. I directed some pieces here with BG On Stage, which was first named the Art Education Task Force. Turned out to be a little bit of a mouthful, so that's still our incorporated name, but we kind of shortened it up and revamped it to just be BG On Stage with the focus on theater. We do have music lessons and voice lessons, piano lessons, and all that sort of thing, but our main focus is the theater. We've got a lot of events going on this season, and we plan to have another fruitful season coming up next year. And so basically going through the process of a season, we get together with our board. We figure out how many shows we can do. We do have to go off of Van Meter's scheduling, so we're kind of low man on the totem pole to get dates, but we do usually fit in about 5 or 6 performances up there, or productions up there. So we then pick the season, pick the lineup of shows that we want to do, then we announce it, and then slowly as the season progresses, we, starting with one show, we'll announce it, hold auditions for it. Usually they're open auditions. We don't have reserved auditions or anything like that. Open call auditions for anyone who wants to come out. Hold the auditions, then we cast the show, and then from there we start the rehearsal process, usually the week after, at max maybe a month after the auditions end. We then, first day of school as we call it, it's the read-through. So if it's a straight play, everyone gets their scripts and they have the cast list so they know who's who, and we just read through the show. If it's a musical, we'll read through the scenes and the speaking bits that are in it, but then we'll also sing through it because it is a musical and we don't want to forget that aspect of it. And then usually our rehearsal process is about 8 weeks. So we have 8 weeks to really get this show together. We rehearse usually 3 days a week for 2 hours at each rehearsal. We do understand that a lot of our students and adults have time commitments and conflicts and stuff, so we do take that into consideration when we cast our shows and have rehearsals. So at the end of those 8 weeks, we then move into Van Meter Hall at Western, and we have what we call Tech Week. Tech Week is where we add the technical aspects, lighting, microphones, sound, if we have any sound clips, sound cues, music. If it's a musical, we finally get to hear that on the big speakers on the stage. And then just incorporating everything together, scene changes on the actual stage, the flow of how props and entering works. So that way we have now a fully rounded, complete production once we actually get up on our stage, which that's the transition from just the rehearsal to performance. Once we get that audience in front of us, then this whole process that we've been working on finally becomes a performance, and we get to share that with audiences. And we do usually focus on school day performances. We have lots of schools from Warren County and the surrounding counties come to see our shows. And we usually do 1 or 2 public performances so that the general public, friends, family of the cast and crew can come see the performance as well. That's at the end of the 8 weeks. And then after, usually if it's our first show in the season, we only have about a month turnover before then we're right back to doing another show. Or as it's been this last season, we're pretty much back to back every turnover for performances. We like to stay busy, like to get those kiddos acting and performing, like to get adults involved, and so we just want to give everyone that comes through BG On Stage a pretty solid theatrical experience. You can be, our youngest that we can take is 6 years old. So, if you're maybe an animal at first at 6 years old on a main stage performance, that's pretty good. That's pretty good because we usually cast 9 and up for main stage. So then we have that middle age range of 9 to 13 involved as well, and then we're trying to get more involvement with the high schoolers and the college students and adults. We would love to have more involvement in that aspect, and that's where we're trying to get some cabaret nights involved and some maybe more after dark or more quote-unquote adult productions that we can do in our black box theater to get more of the older age range for actors to get involved in BG on Stage.
That's good.